When Marcie unwrapped the cut glass bottle, she thought it was perfume. "Oh, great," she said to herself. "Here I am, getting married in 4 days, without a thing to wear, and Aunt Hepzibah sends me perfume." It wasn't that Marcie was greedy, but her Aunt Hepzibah was, let's just say, loaded, and she spent almost nothing on herself. She lived in Egypt in a little mud hut because she wanted to, quote, soak up the flavor of the East. She'd write Marcie, her only living relative, these long, rambling letters about the beauty of the Orient and the delights of contemplation. Marcie would dutifully read them and reply with a simple, "Dear Aunt Hepzibah, I hope you are well." She sighed and looked at the label on the bottle. It was printed in a careful, vague Arabic script, and it read Djinn Number 7. Marcie shrugged. "Oh well, it's probably very fancy and expensive. If I skip lunch this week, I can probably afford a nice negligee and maybe some new gloves for the church. Greg will like the perfume, and if I keep my job for a few months after we're married, we'll be okay. Of course, all the bridal magazines say a bride should have a dozen of everything, but we can't all be that lucky." She was about to put the bottle in her desk drawer. Her lunch hour was almost over, but on an impulse, she started to work the stopper loose. "I'll just take a tiny sniff," she thought. The stopper was stuck. Marcie twisted it, pulled, and then choked on the curious, intense fragrance that filled the air. "Wow, that is strong," she thought, holding the loose stopper in her hand. Then she blinked. She dropped the stopper, and the precious cut glass bottle shattered on the floor into a million pieces. Now, Marcie was a normal girl. She went to the movies. She'd seen Sinbad, the Sailor, and the Thief of Baghdad, so she knew exactly what was happening as the fragrance rolled out and solidified into a huge, towering figure with a vaguely Middle Eastern face. "My gosh," she breathed. Then, seeing the immediate danger to the office ceiling, she yelled, "Hey, stick your head out the window quick." "Two here is to obey," the huge figure said with a hiss. "But, oh, mistress, if I might make a suggestion that could attract attention, permit me," and he promptly shrank down to a more manageable size. "They don't make palaces as big these days, do they?" he asked confidentially. "I am not," the figure said sharply. "Can't you read? I am a Djinn Number 7, to be exact." "Now, there is a strange point of ethics," he murmured. "Since the stopper is broken, I can never be put back in the bottle. But since you so generously let me out, I shall gladly grant you one wish." "What will it be?" Marcie didn't even hesitate. This was her chance to get a good wedding present out of Aunt Hepzibah's strange old bottle. And she wasn't a greedy girl. She smiled brightly. "I'm getting married in a few days," she started. "You want an elixir of love, of eternal beauty?" he asked. "No, sir." Marcie shuddered. She'd read the Arabian Nights. She knew you couldn't make a magical bargain with a No. As a matter of fact, I just want, well, a household trousseau. Nice things to get married with, you know. Just to start us off nicely." The djinn frowned. I'm afraid I don't quite understand trousseau. That word is new to me. Remember, I haven't been out of this bottle since King Solomon was a baby. Well, sheets and towels and slips and nightgowns, Marcie began, then gave up. Oh well, just give me a dozen of everything, she told him. To hear is to obey, the djinn intoned. Where shall I put it, oh mistress? Oh, in my room, Marcie told him. Then, remembering her tiny $5-a-week hall bedroom, she added, maybe you'll have to enlarge the room a little. But you can do that, can't you? Oh sure, said the djinn casually. A djinn, my dear mistress, can do anything. And now, farewell forever, and thank you for letting me out. He vanished so fast that Marcie had to rub her eyes. The little shattered pieces of the bottle lay on the floor. After a moment, Marcie picked one up, sniffing it. A curious, faint fragrance still clung to it, but it was otherwise empty. Did I dream this whole thing? She asked herself, feeling dizzy. The buzzer rang, and the other typists came back from lunch. Gosh, Marcie, have you been sitting here the whole hour? Someone asked. I took a little nap, Marcie answered, carefully sliding the broken glass into her desk drawer. That afternoon seemed to drag on forever. The hands of the clock barely moved. She found herself starting one business letter, Dear Djinn. She ripped it out angrily, typed the date on a new sheet, and started over. Djinn Number, we wish to call your attention. Finally, the clock hit 5. Marcie threw the cover over her typewriter, grabbed her handbag, and practically ran from the office. There won't be anything there, she kept telling herself as she hurried down the block. There won't be anything. But what if there is? Suppose the hall of her rooming house was strangely quiet. Marcie climbed the stairs, wondering where her landlady and the other boarders were. Her hands felt heavy as she put her key in the lock. It's all nonsense, she said aloud. Here goes. She shut her eyes tight and opened the door. She walked in. There was a dozen of everything. The room stretched out into an endless grey space. Marcie opened her eyes and clapped her hands to her mouth to stifle a scream. There were a dozen of her familiar bed side by side. A dozen grey cats sleeping on the pillows. A dozen dainty negligees piled up neatly. A dozen little packages labelled nylon stockings, and a dozen red apples rolling slightly beside them. Before her staring eyes, a dozen elephants lumbered through the grey space. Beyond them, her terrified vision focused on a dozen white domes that faded into the distance, and a dozen tall cathedrals as well. A dozen of everything. Marcie, Marcie, where are you? She heard a man's voice shouting from the hall. Greg, he was outside this nightmare. She fled blindly, stumbling over a dozen rolled-up Persian carpets, bumping into the edge of one of a dozen grand pianos. She screamed, imagining a dozen rattlesnakes somewhere in the mess. Greg, she shrieked. 12 doors were thrown open at once. Marcie, sweetheart, what's the matter? Pleaded a jumble of worried voices, and 12 of Greg, pushing angrily at one another, all rushed into the room at the same time.